Oh, hello. I stole this train and I'm leaving town because I spent way too much money on 4Ks and Blu-rays this month. Let's talk about them. Excuse me one moment. Let's go! What's up, everyone? Red Eye Reviews here with another episode of Physical Therapy for you, this time for the month of February 2025. February just blew by like the breeze, and so did all my money. Just went up in the air because I bought 18 titles this month.
All of which I would gladly show you now.
If you're unfamiliar with the channel or the series, Physical Therapy is a monthly series in which I go over all of the Blu-rays and 4Ks that I buy in a given month, and I talk about them. Talk about if they're worth an upgrade, if the movie's worth the damn. They usually are because, I mean, I bought them. Why wouldn't they be worth a damn? You mean people out there buy movies that they don't like just to have them? Just to complete collections?
It's like people only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad.
I watch all of my movies. So without further ado, let's just jump right in, shall we? First up is a pick that I got for $1 at Half Price Books. A whole dollar. And that is The Last Dragon on Blu-ray. Now I know what you're thinking. Dude, The Last Dragon is already on 4K from Sony in a steelbook. Well, there's two problems with that. First, it's a steelbook, and the second is it isn't $1. So this is a movie I've been wanting to pick up for a while now, and I've been kind of circling getting it on Blu-ray for cheap and, you know, debating on to get the 4K steelbook or not. And you know me, I don't really care for steelbooks. And so when I found this at Half Price Books for $1, it was a no-brainer. If you're unfamiliar with the movie, The Last Dragon is a delectable piece of 80s cinema. It stars Timac as Leroy Green, who is a up-and-coming martial artist in New York. And he's got an enemy to defeat, Shonuff, one of the most memorable villains in movie history. I didn't say greatest, I said memorable.
Who's the master? Shonuff! Who's the master? Shonuff!
There's like a subplot of like, you know, music producer, and William H. Macy's in a really early role, and Vanity is in this. And my God, if you know me, I'm a Vanity fan, so yeah. Anyway, this movie is nonstop, balls to the wall, fun, action, comedy, 80s cheese, you name it. This movie is a good time whether you are hanging out alone, hanging out with some buddies, or in a crowded theater. This is a fun movie. You should get it on Steelbook 4K if that's your thing. If you can get it on Blu-ray, get it on Blu-ray too. I haven't had a chance to check this out, but I'm sure it's not appallingly bad. I'm sure it's just fine. And it was $1. Next up, we have my favorite film of 2024. And that is The Substance on 4K. Now, I won't go into this one a whole lot because it's a recent movie. You should know about this. I mean, hell, it's been nominated at the Oscars. I don't know what to say that hasn't been said online. I also did a review on this. It's on this channel. Feel free to go watch it. I love this movie with all my heart. I'm really glad to see it. Every time I see it, I love it a little bit more. Demi Moore gives a career-defining performance. Margaret Qualley as well. But Demi Moore is just the standout in this. I could just go on and on, but just watch my review and trust me that The Substance on 4K is worth a damn. It's worth picking up over the Blu-ray because the 4K looks pretty damn immaculate. This was shot on digital, so how much better can it look? Go see The Substance if you haven't already. And Demi Moore, you better win that Oscar, girl. It wouldn't be an episode of Physical Therapy without a weird, obscure 90s movie on Blu-ray, now would it? In that case, I've got Communion on Blu-ray from Shout Factory. Like Unlawful Entry, Shout Factory released Communion in a rare small amount pressing, and you either bought it or you missed out and had to pay scalper prices on eBay. Me, I did the latter and had to pay scalper prices on eBay. Only because I've been searching for a DVD or a Blu-ray of this for years and years and years on the used market. And, knowing that Shout Factory did this, I had to bite. Yeah, that might have meant spending a little bit more on eBay, but, what are you going to do? If you're unfamiliar with the movie, Communion is a very slow burn movie, but it's about Christopher Walken, who plays a writer, and he is feeling very weird. Things are not really right. And over the course of the movie, he starts to realize that he has had some sort of alien abduction encounter. And right up there with Fire in the Sky, this is kind of one of those movies that I remember from the early to mid 90s that was very creepy to me as a kid. It had a really interesting portrayal of the Greys, the aliens. And just like Fire in the Sky, it just creeped me the hell out. So Communion may not be the crazy alien movie you might think it's going to be. It's a real slow burn. It doesn't have a lot of action or, craziness in it. It does have some suspense. It does have Christopher Walken being a little manic, being a little crazy. And, that's the Christopher. So Communion, is it worth a damn? If you're a fan, yeah, maybe go pick it up on eBay for some eBay prices because you can't really get this Blu-ray. Otherwise, I'd say check this out on streaming if you just want to check it out and satisfy some curiosity. But if you're in for a movie like this, Communion won't disappoint. It just is. It's a little slice of the 90s I'm really glad to have. Next up, we have a 4K upgrade of a Blu-ray that I'm pretty sure was a Blu-ray launch title way back in 2008 or whatever it was, and that is Lord of War on 4K. Now, Lord of War, I believe, is one of Nicolas Cage's best serious performances. And by serious, I mean he doesn't have a lot of Cageisms. I mean, he freaks out a couple times, but for the most part, Nicolas Cage plays it straight. And he plays a gun runner in this film during the early to mid 80s, and it's all about him going from rags to riches, becoming this gun runner, and what it does to him, what it does to his family, especially his brother, played by Jared Leto.
It's Morbid time.
Now, don't let that stop you from watching this. This is a really, really good film. It kind of went under the radar, I want to say, because I don't hear a whole lot of people talking about this in the positive light. I'm okay with that though, because I prefer it as a nice little hidden gem of the mid 2000s. And it's pretty damn good in my opinion. The movie was directed by Andrew Niccol, who did Gattaca, which I also highly recommend.
Selling guns is like selling vacuum cleaners. You make calls, pound the pavement. I supply to every army but the Salvation Army.
Can you bring me the gun of Rambo?
Part 1, 2, or 3?
I've only seen part 1.
So I have not had a chance to check this out on 4K yet to see how great the upgrade from Blu-ray to 4K is. However, being that the Blu-ray was one of the earlier titles in the format, I'm pretty sure that this is going to look pretty solid, especially in comparison. It does come with that exact same Blu-ray in case you want to do an A/B comparison. I just haven't had the time yet, but this is pretty cheap online. Had to buy it. Pretty damn good movie. Pretty underrated.
They call me the Lord of War. But perhaps it is you. It's Warlord. Thank you, but I prefer it my way.
Is this how you want to be remembered?
I don't want to be remembered at all.
Next up, I have a twofer of two of my favorite horror movies of the last 10 years, and that is Smile and Smile 2 on 4K. So,
hello, Ms. Lady.
I'm not going to go into these because they're recent enough and you should know about these if you're into horror movies, but Smile is a pretty interesting, gimmicky horror film. It doesn't really hit on all cylinders, but it's interesting enough, and I gotta say, it's pretty damn effective, but, it kind of, you feel like it's a one and done, that's it, okay, it's over. Smile 2 is my favorite of the batch. And I just think what the director did with the story and where the story goes at the end of part 2 pretty damn smart, pretty damn interesting, and just, you know, I'm here for part 3. I want to see what this guy does next. So I can wholly recommend Smile Part 2. You should watch Smile 1 just to know the setup. And I mean, again, it's a fine film. It's okay, but it's nothing in comparison to 2. 2 just knocks it out of the park. It's one of the best sequels I've ever seen. You can quote me on that. And I haven't had a chance to check these out in 4K yet, but I got them both pretty damn cheap. Part 2 was on sale on Amazon for $19.96. So, yeah.
I'm seeing something no one else can see except for me. It's smiling at me. Oh my God!
Next up, I have a Marvel 4K that is basically the last one I need to own to complete my collection of the MCU on 4K. And that only goes up to about the new Spider-Mans. Anything past that is just garbage. And that is Iron Man 2 on 4K. So Iron Man 2 used to be pretty looked down upon by the majority of Marvel fans because at the time it was one of the lesser entries in the MCU. Now that is so not the case anymore, I'm glad more people are, you know, loving the Iron Man series, even 3, which I wasn't a big fan of at first. But Iron Man 2, I've always been a big defender of from the beginning, and this was literally the last one I needed to upgrade from Blu-ray to 4K in order to complete my MCU collection on 4K. It's also basically part of my plan to get everything that I want from Marvel, Disney, Lucasfilm on 4K physical so I can get rid of Disney Plus. I've actually gotten rid of it already though. Fuck Disney Plus, cancel your Disney Plus, and buy it on physical media. So Iron Man 2, is it a cinematic masterpiece? No. Is it the MCU's biggest piece of crap? No. It's just Iron Man. And that's damn fine by me. Next up, we have one of my favorite films of the 80s and something that I begged my mother to take me to the theater to see over and over again as a child, and that is Uncle Buck on 4K from Kino Lorber.
Buck Russell had always been the black sheep of the family.
I'm stunned that I'm related to you.
Until one night.
Buck, we have a problem with the kids. We're stuck for somebody to watch them.
Oh, please, not that.
Now, this was previously released on a Universal Blu-ray that's ancient, almost as old as the format itself, I believe. And it looked and sounded like crap.
Unacceptable!
Kino Lorber came out a year or two ago and said we're going to release Uncle Buck. I instantly sold that Blu-ray because I knew whatever Kino put out would be better than that. And it's safe to say that I was right to do so.
I'm right!
Tom's Festival.
I'm right!
Tom's Festival.
Uncle Buck on 4K from Kino is a revelation. It's the best way to see this movie. It looks and sounds great. Uncle Buck comes to us on 4K from Kino with HDR10 and Dolby Vision, and sports a fresh 4K scan from the original camera negative. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the movie, Uncle Buck, 80s classic starring the late great John Candy, who is just a national treasure.
National treasure.
John Candy is the estranged brother of Bob. And Bob and his family are going through a crisis, and he and his wife need to leave town and leave the kids with somebody. No one else is available, so they call Uncle Buck.
Now, he's making them breakfast.
Cigar?
No thanks.
And making them crazy.
Uncle Buck doesn't have children, he's a gambler, he stays out late drinking and smoking, and he knows nothing about how to take care of a family, especially young kids and a teenage girl. John Hughes, master of filmmaking. This is one of his best movies in my opinion, although it's really tough to rank John Hughes movies because to me, most of them are 10 out of 10s. Uncle Buck is no exception. Again, From Kino Lorber, this 4K looks and sounds immaculate. The sound, oh my God, like there were times that like the bass coming from this movie were just, I didn't know this movie had so much bass. And it's not just the music scenes with some of the bassier music. This is the only way you need to watch Uncle Buck on physical media at home, because that Universal piece of crap just doesn't cut it. Go with the Kino 4K. You won't regret it. Next up, we have a 4K upgrade of a Blu-ray that I have that I didn't know that I ordered. So when it arrived on my doorstep, I was pretty surprised, and that is Constantine on 4K from Warner Brothers. Now, this is another case of just an immaculate, flawless, perfect transfer, and it's coming from Warner Brothers of all people. Constantine is a early 2000s favorite of mine. I remember being younger and watching this when I was down in the dumps. A friend took me to the movie theater. We had a couple of drinks at Applebee's beforehand. Had a good time watching this one. I still enjoy this. Keanu Reeves is great in the role. Granted, he doesn't completely embody the character of Constantine from the comics, but it works enough for me.
Aren't you a peach?
He knocks it out of the park with his performance. Rachel Weisz in this is amazing. I mean, to me, right up there with The Mummy, it's like one of her best performances. Haunting is a word that I would say to describe it. Now for how it looks and sounds, and I'll just be simple, amazing. This is a big upgrade from that VC1 transfer Blu-ray. It's a fairly recent movie. It really does the job knocking the socks off of that old VC1 Blu-ray. If you're stuck with that thing, sell it and get this. This is the definitive way to watch Constantine. All the special features are ported over, if I recall correctly, and for about 23, 24 bucks, hey, you can't go wrong. Sadly, this does not include the Blu-ray with it. You're only going to get the 4K disc and a digital copy code inside. But other than that, I can highly recommend Constantine, especially if you're a big fan. You owe it to yourself to pick this one up. All right, everybody, we are at the halfway point right now, and I want to say thank you all for watching this long. Don't forget to like this video, share and subscribe to the channel. You're going to want to stick around till the end of the video because I have a very, 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 very hard to find, rare, super out of print, hard to find movie as my very last title. It just came in today. My wallet and my heart are still fluttering from what I had to pay to get this, because if you can keep a secret, I'm going to tell you, it's the most expensive Blu-ray I've ever bought. Not a collection, but a single Blu-ray. I've never paid this much for a single Blu-ray. So if you want to know how much I paid for this and what it is, stick around to the end of the video.
Stop with it, kid.
With that said, on to the next title. Next up, we have something that I was really glad Criterion was able to bring to 4K, and one of my favorite films of the early 2000s, and that is No Country for Old Men on 4K. So No Country for Old Men is the Coen brothers' masterpiece about money, love, betrayal. Josh Brolin plays Llewellyn, who is a normal guy in Texas in the early 80s, and he stumbles upon a satchel of money. It's one of those kind of morality tales where it's basically, you know, man finds money and stuff happens. You know, it's a tale as old as time, but the Coen brothers just do it with that panache that they have. And man, I don't know, this movie is one of my favorites of all time. A lot of people have problems with it, some with the ending. I don't. This is all the way a film that needs to be on Criterion, and I'm really glad it is. I was able to check it out, and wow, Criterion really knocked it out of the park on this one. This is an upgrade big time from that old Miramax Blu-ray from 2007 or 8, whatever.
Like big time, big time, big time.
Big time. Slip the bass, big time.
If you're into this film, this is worth an upgrade. The picture quality alone is worth it. There's also a great supporting cast in this. Tommy Lee Jones, Kelly MacDonald, Woody Harrelson, Javier Bardem all play supporting roles, but let's face it, Javier Bardem steals the show as Anton Chigurh, who is arguably one of the greatest villains of all time. And I mean greatest villains of all time. His performance in this is just what steals the show. Josh Brolin, you're kind of rooting for him throughout this, but you're also rooting for Javier Bardem.
You don't know what you're talking about.
No Country for Old Men may not be for everyone. It may not be your kind of movie, but for me, it's one of the best. The 4K upgrade is worth your money on this one. Highly recommended. Thank you, Criterion. Next up, we have an underrated gem from Guy Ritchie, a recent crime caper, and that is The Gentleman on 4K.
The Gentleman!
So The Gentleman is about Matthew McConaughey, who owns a weed business, and he's trying to cash out, and all of the cretins start coming out from under the woodwork and trying to cash in on him leaving. And it's got a really great supporting cast. It's got Hugh Grant, Colin Farrell, Jeremy Strong. This is loosely related to the Gentleman TV series on Netflix. I've really been struggling to find some ways in which it's really connected. I think it's really only just in name, but I can also recommend the show. This I haven't seen in quite a while, so I'm kind of hazy on it.
You have smoked yourself retarded.
But it's been on my wish list for a while. It looked like it was a little bit harder to find because it was creeping up to the $25 price point on eBay. I decided to grab it because you might as well. You never know when things are going to go out of print and are going to skyrocket in value. They could also tank in value too, so be careful with that. But so for being about 20-25 bucks, this was really not breaking my bank, and to have it in my collection and not have to worry about it going out of print and skyrocketing in price, I decided to grab it. I can't wait to check it out on 4K because I've only seen it before on streaming. And if you do purchase this, I have to warn you that the digital copy that comes with it is only redeemable in iTunes.
His name is Fahak. We're spelled with a PH, so it sounds like Fahak.
Please!
All right, Fahak, Kanda Fahak.
Please!
If you smell smoke, it's because there's a fire. So you're gonna have to stamp that out quickly.
I do have to say The Gentleman is pretty damn entertaining, and I remember having a good time with it. And hey, for 20-25 bucks and for future-proofing it in your collection, I'd say it's worth picking up.
In the jungle, the only way a lion survives, not by acting like a king, by being the king.
Next up, I have a semi-controversial title on 4K, but that's okay because it's one of my favorite films of all time, and that is John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness on 4K. So this is an upgrade for me. I had the original Shout Factory Blu-ray, so I decided to upgrade to the Shout Factory 4K. There's a whole lot of discourse about this online. It's not as angry as a lot of the things online usually are, but the thing about this is that people are comparing this version from Shout Factory with the 4K from Studio Canal, and people are basically going back and forth debating on which has the better color tint to it. So I went back and forth on a lot of the screen caps, and you know, I went back and forth until my eyes were red.
Oh, okay, I see what you did
And to my eyes, I couldn't see anything that was honestly too egregious.
This is egregious! This is egregious!
So being that I only had the Blu-ray, I decided to go with the 4K. I ended up finding it for 20 bucks at Amoeba. And, you know, this comes with a Blu-ray as well, which I hear is actually a better Blu-ray than the Shout Factory Blu-ray that I had, because this is a different remaster. So a lot of people on the forums are actually preferring the Blu-ray on this set over the original Blu-ray that Shout released as an individual title back in 2008 or 2010, whatever it was. For my money, for 20 bucks, this was worth it. It's one of my favorite films of all time. It's one of my favorite John Carpenter films.
Anyone in close proximity has the same dream.
What is it?
A secret that can no longer be
If you
kept.
don't know anything about the film, it's basically about students from a college who go and spend the night in an old abandoned church doing research and trying to... I don't really want to say too much more. This is a really good slow burn from John Carpenter. It's a really dark, dismal film filled with lots of dread and a great score from John Carpenter himself and Alan Howarth. I don't know what I could say about this movie more than what's been said online, but I love it to death. It's one of my favorites. Yeah, you could get the Studio Canal version, but honestly, I really want to check this version out because I want to see it for myself in motion for myself. I don't want to look at caps. I can kind of recommend this disc, but I really recommend the film. In that same trip to Amoeba, I stumbled upon something that I've been wanting on Blu-ray for a long time and forgot that they even released it on Blu-ray to begin with, and that is Orange County from Paramount. So I know you're gonna laugh at me for this one, but you know what? I really liked this film when I saw it for the first time about 10 years ago. I really identified with Tom Hanks' son. What's his name? Colin? I really identified with Colin Hanks in this movie because in this movie, he is a young aspiring writer who doesn't know what college he wants to go to, where he's going to go in life, and he feels like there are things holding him back, mainly his family. And, you know, his brother, played by Jack Black. Thankfully, this is one of the roles of him that I can stomach. He's actually okay in this. He does get a little bit on the annoying meter, but you know, where I really like this movie is identifying with Colin Hanks and being a young aspiring writer, and I won't spoil it, but basically what he learns at the end of this film is something that I feel all writers and yet all young people should learn. But I won't give that away because you should really go check this out for yourself. Yeah, it's a comedy, you know, they don't make those anymore, but you know, I wanted to make sure I had this in my collection because I remember enjoying it a lot. It had a lot of comedy that I didn't think I was gonna laugh at, but ended up laughing at. It had a lot of heart that I didn't expect to have. And you know, what can you say? It was $8. It's a good old red-blooded American comedy. And you know, we don't get those anymore.
She was like, I hate my job. I'm gonna burn this mother down. And I said, you better not. You better not.
So if I haven't seen it, but I received it as a gift, is it still a blind buy? Next up, I have a Blu-ray of a movie that I haven't seen. It was a gift from a friend of mine, and he thinks I'm really going to enjoy this movie. I think I will too, because it's from one of the directors of one of my favorite films of all time, and that is Times Square. Director Alan Moyle, director of one of my favorite films of all time, Pump Up the Volume, directed this in 1980, 10 years earlier. So I actually know nothing about this movie other than it was released in 1980 by director Alan Moyle. It stars two young women and Tim Curry in a supporting role. My friend says I'm really gonna love it. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. I'm just gonna move on to the next one because I really have nothing else to say about this, but maybe one day I will. Next up, we have a balls-out action, stunt-filled, music-filled. Man, this movie is nuts. I can't even say. It's Stunt Rock on Blu-ray from Kino. This is also something my friend got for me for a birthday gift, and this is something I've seen before a long time ago with him. I don't remember a whole lot because, let's face it, I was pretty red-eyed at the time, but I do remember this movie as being crazy. It's from 1978. It's directed by Brian Trenchard Smith, who did The Man from Hong Kong, which is also another great exploitation film. Stunt Rock basically follows a stuntman who gets involved with a rock and roll band, and rock and roll and stunts ensue.
This is Stunt Rock. It's superhuman. Super music. Super magic. And super amazing.
Stunt Rocker! I really, it's not that I don't know anything about this, it's just stunts and rock are the only thing that really come to mind when you think of this movie. And once you like hear the theme song and see the trailer, it's just, this is just crazy. If you're into 70s exploitation films, check this out. Check it out with some friends, with some buds, or with some beers, or all three, because you will have a really good time with this one.
Life is hard. You have to have a knife. When the wind is at your back, you must survive the test. To be better than the best.
It's just fucking nuts, and I'm glad to get it on Blu-ray. I almost bought it myself a couple of weeks previous, so my friend really knows me. If you're looking for a fun exploitation, balls out crazy movie, pick up Stunt Rock from Kino Lorber. Thanks for picking this up for me, Russ. And the last thing my friend got me for my gift was The Return of Kung Fu, Trailers of Fury on DVDs. So this is a compilation from Severin of a bunch of Kung Fu trailers from the 70s and 80s, and it's basically 2 hours of trailers. And he and I love things like this because they're great ways to show you a lot of movies you've never seen, and it beats just looking up, Kung Fu trailers on YouTube. Like, this is legit. So I've yet to see this, but I can only say that I'm sure I'm going to have a great time laughing and loving some of these movies, and of course seeking some of them out. So if you've hit the bottom of the barrel of your Kung Fu quest and you think there's nothing else to find, watch one of these and maybe you'll find a hidden gem or two that you've never thought to look at before. This is also something you're going to want to watch with some friends, with some buds, with some beers. Have fun with it.
Uh-huh.
Next up, I have a movie on Blu-ray that I'm really not that interested in getting on 4K, and that is The Nice Guys on Blu-ray from Warner Brothers. So The Nice Guys is a nice little comedy gem from director Shane Black, who you might know from Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. He was also in Predator. He also directed Iron Man 3, another Predator movie. But to Shane Black's credit, he's done some nice work, and this is one of his better films in my opinion. Not his best, but it's definitely enjoyable. This was something I didn't really like at first because I saw it in halves. Half of it one day and then the other half of it the next.
No shit.
So of course my opinion of it was a little bit low at the time, but I let some time go by. I checked it out again on streaming, and it's not that bad. It's not a perfect film, but it's definitely pretty damn fun. And Ryan Gosling and Russell Crowe give outstanding performances. They really bounce well off of each other in this film, and I think that's what makes it work, is their chemistry.
Right, look, when you're talking to your doctor, just tell him you have a spiral fracture of the left radius.
No! No!
Deep breath.
Basically, it's a murder mystery thriller from Shane Black. It's a kind of a LA noir set in the 70s. And, I'm not really going to say much about the plot other than that because, you should really go check it out for yourself. Warner Brothers released this recently on 4K, and from some of the early reviews, I heard there's not a whole lot of difference. If I recall, they were even saying that the 4K might look a little bit worse than the Blu-ray.
Oh no! What happened? Oh no, how terrible! That's just awful. How terrible. Oh no.
So, hey, this was like $5 on Blu-ray. I'm fine with that for now. If I really feel the need someday to upgrade this, maybe I will, but it's not really on the top of my list. If you're a really big fan, hey, I'm sure you get the Blu-ray with that 4K, so, by all means, upgrade if necessary. But for me, for my dollars, my level of fandom with this. The Nice Guys seems fine on Blu-ray from $5.
How'd you get down here? I told you to go to the roof.
Did you fall?
Jesus Christ, you kidding? I think I'm invincible. It's the only thing that makes sense. I don't think I can die.
All right, everybody, we've made it to the end. And if you've made it this far, thank you. You are a saint. Now is where I reveal the most expensive Blu-ray I have ever bought in my entire life. And something I've been looking for about a good year and a half now. That is Dutch on Blu-ray from Anchor Bay. Oh, good old Anchor Bay. Dutch is a 1991 film written and produced but not directed by the late great John Hughes, and it stars the great Ed O'Neill from one of the best TV series of all time, Married with Children, also co-starring a young Ethan Embry. So Ethan Embry plays the young son of a mother who is just recently divorced from her husband and is seeing a new man named Dutch Dooley, played by Ed O'Neill. So Ethan Embry's mom wants him to come home for Thanksgiving, and she basically enlists Dutch to bring him home for the holiday because Ethan Embry does not want to come home, and he's mad at his parents, and he's just being a little dick.
Let me go down and get him. I'm a communicator. I'm a breakthrough kind of guy.
They've only just met.
I'm a friend of your mother's. I came to get you to bring you home.
And already, they get along. Like family.
I'm not going anywhere with you!
What do you like to do for fun? Oh, you like to wiggle and grunt? Me too.
So this movie is basically a road trip movie between Ethan Embry and Ed O'Neill. And Ed O'Neill is basically from the hardworking generation, and Ethan Embry is a spoiled little rich kid who mouths off, and you know, there's some pretty hilarious antics between the two of them, but basically it's a clashing of the generations, and Ed O'Neill starts to match his energy as they go on this cross-country road trip. It's a lot like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, just with, you know, a man and a younger boy. Oh God, is that gonna get me flagged on YouTube? God. So Dutch has had a sordid history on home video. It was released on Blu-ray and DVD from Anchor Bay in the early 2000s. It has since gone out of print and is now very, very hard to find and very, very expensive online. I had some recent good things happen in my life, so you know what? I was able to fork over the bread and finally get this. Yeah, I don't like paying a lot of money like that for Blu-rays like this, but you know, this is something I've been wanting for a while. You don't come across it a lot, and I've been searching the used markets, all the little nooks and crannies that I know of.
Nooks and crannies, yes. Perhaps this would be more accurate. Nooks and crannies rather than alcoves. Yeah.
To no avail, so I, you know, just plopped down the money and did it.
Hug it, chug it, football!
And that's my best advice to you. If there's something you're circling and you're like, oh, this is too much money, just do it.
Do it! Just do it!
If you really want to see the movie, if you really want that movie in your collection, I recommend it. Money's money. You can't take it with you. You can't take this with you either, but at least you can enjoy this while you can, while you're still here.
See? I'm still here. We're all still here.
So anyway, Dutch, yeah, is it one of my favorite films of all time? No. Was it one of my favorite comedies of all time? No. But it's got a lot of heart, and I know I say that a lot, but it mixes the heart and the comedy together. It's got Ed O'Neill. It's John Hughes adjacent. You can't go wrong with it. And you know, this is something I actually like to watch on Thanksgiving, and I've been watching it for the last couple of years. Don't ask me how, but I'm really glad to have this in my collection. And if you really want something, you should just go get it. So that's it for this month's episode of Physical Therapy. What did you think of my picks? Let me know in the comments below. So what did we learn this episode? Well, we learned that sometimes a $1 or a $5 Blu-ray can be a lot better than a overpriced 4K. We also learned to follow your dreams. Follow your hearts. Don't lead with your wallet. Lead with your heart. Lead with your mind. Don't wait for tomorrow, because tomorrow might not come. We could all just die in our sleep tonight. Don't forget to like this video, share, and subscribe. Take care of yourself and each other. And don't forget to keep those eyes red, baby. See you next time.
Fuck your chicken strips! Go. Fuck your chicken strips!
Fuck you.